Is it okay for you guys? Okay. My name is Javin Mo. Thanks for coming this morning for sharing because I'm not from the architecture background. I'm from graphic design, but actually I study communication as Thomas just introduced me. I have a very small studio called Milkshake, which is focused on graphic design. And why I like to call it independent, the word independent, because it's a kind of very interesting. We are not a big scale firm or company, but we focus on independent, like what you see is independent movie, independent film music, or independent artists. So in a sense of design, I would call myself as an independent graphic designer. So this is my website, milkshake.org. This is a kind of name. Instead of you can see the general milkshake name, we call it a mix, M-I-X. That's why it's pronounced as the same word, but it's a different interpretations. So this name was already like 10 years ago was my university project. But I put this project as a practice in a real firm right now in a new design studio in Hong Kong. So basically, I would like to introduce basically for myself. Actually, as I just spoke, I'm not from graphic design background. I graduated from Hong Kong Baptist University School of Communications. And we studied more into multimedia communication, including at that time like animation, website. But we have a broad discipline. We study also public relation, advertising, journalism, film and movie, and general organization, communication studies. And that's kind of how this background initiated me as an independent designer, try to absorbing different content. But I love graphic design, and I love the visual culture, what the theme today is. And I love kind of visual experiment as well. And that's why I try to find a job, because I don't learn much in my university, but I really into the design details, and that's why I try to learn myself in a company called Tommy Design Workshop, which is a kind of brand agency, brand studio in Hong Kong, and which is more into commercial branding. So after 5 years, I tried to spend 1 year to escape from Hong Kong, because at that time, 10 years ago, so there was a SARS in Hong Kong, so it's a kind of very big event. The big happenings which make the whole city going down, and also the economy. And that time I was trying to absorbing different international culture. I want to not just stay in Hong Kong, try to go to somewhere else. And that's why after 5 years solid working experience, I tried to work in a research communication center called Fabrica. So this place. Have you heard this name? Maybe you're not, but do you know the Italian fashion brand United Colors of Benetton? So actually, I think now, maybe your young people, you don't know much about this brand because you are buying the Uniqlo, in Hong Kong. But in the 80s, this Italian fashion brand is the biggest in the world, just like Esprit, that kind of H&M, Zara, so this kind of thing. But and then one of the strongest thing is that they have a very international good advertising campaign worldwide. So when you study visual, when you study advertising in the 80s and 90s, so Benetton advertising is the most important advertising that you need to know at that time. But they represent a commercial fashion brand. So right now, at that time, so Fabrica is a Latin word called workshop. So that's why owned by the commercial fashion brand, they have an independent research center. So they have a visual communication discipline, photography, writing, and film, and also new media and industrial design. So they invite young people under 25. So it's the age 25, and then they invite different people all over the world, and they came to this place located in a very small town near Venice in Italy. So it's a northern Italy. So there was a small town, and then you have to gather around 80 people in 1 year with different countries. So you will meet from African people, from Japan, from Asia, even from Scandinavia, so all over the world. They will invite you to have a 1 year kind of practice in this center. And then during this year, you will do a lot of projects, experimental project, movie project, design project, and then you collaborate with different very good professor and then teacher and also creative people. And after 1 year, so you need to left because they keep fresh in this phase. So this phase was already around the first year was 1993, so it's around like 20 years already. But they still keeping fresh and fresh. So when you check Fabrica.it, you will see they have a lot of architect people as well, because they try to explore. I mean, this place was built by Tata Ando as well. So you can see this is the first Benetton flagship store in Italy. So that's why this is the hometown of Luciano Benetton, the founder of Benetton Group. And that's why Tata Ando tried to regenerate the space is with his style and also with the very Italian style at that time. But this was an amazing experience for me to try to make different things together. So after I back, I tried to because at that year I travel a lot in Europe, and then I can see a lot of very in Europe design is a very visual design is a very professional industry in Europe, and that's why I absorb a lot of different experience, and I try to see if I can share this experience in Hong Kong. That's why I work as a home-based freelancer. So because in Hong Kong it's so small, everything is so expensive. So that's why when you run a studio, you have to pay a lot of rent or something, and then that's why I chose to work as a freelancer at the very beginning. But I tried to narrow down my discipline more into art and cultural disciplines. And since 2009, I tried to find a space in Hong Kong, had a small studio, and tried to make it as an official independent studio, and try to not work at home as well. And right now, my studio is so small, but so independent, so flexible, so just three of us. So I'm kind of the founder, design director, and I have two very good colleagues, designers. And we have also a lovely cat here. So this is my space. We just moved to Shangwan this year, basically. So so after I came back from Italy, I spent I spent 3 years working as a freelancer, as I just said. And what I'm interested in, I can see Hong Kong. There are a lot of so you may heard about like West Kowloon Cultural District. So you may heard a lot of happenings from the government try to make the culture as a very important asset, even though may not be as good as we expect. But they have still a lot of opportunity for those art organizations, for institutions, for all different disciplines, try to use culture as a value, as increasing values, including architect as well. So this kind of thing that made me try to find an independent way of doing how you can become a good graphic designer in Hong Kong. So I try to focus on more visual branding. So branding, 品牌, is a kind of adding value to a commercial. But my focus is adding value to a art organization or a design organization or institutions. So this is a kind of interesting position that how you became narrow in the market, because in Hong Kong there are a lot of good designers. I would say there are a lot of big designers, and also there are a lot of different designers doing very good commercial. But I think because I'm from commercial background, so I deal with a lot of commercial branding when I had a 5 years experience. At that time I met a lot of clients from Hong Kong and also from mainland. So they do a lot of commercial, like the different telecom industry, property, and hotel, restaurants. So we have a lot of different experience on that. But finally, I think, why don't you can use this kind of mentality to our focus on the art design culture? Because this kind of art organization or cultural organization, they also need good branding. So they also need good design to enhance the value. Okay, so of the organizations. And once they improve the value from the visual sense, from the visual branding, what we call, they could benefit from the government, because once the exhibition is good, once the visual, the standard is good, they would have more funding from the government or from those like the government, like Art Development Council or different organizations. So it's a kind of mutual benefit to design, and also the content. So what we are trying to focus is a good content drive good design. So that's why today we should try to share. I try to share a few cases that how I use design as a strategist to enhance the visual branding for my client. So of course, the first one I would like to share is because since 2011 I have been working with your faculties of architectures in here for developing a kind of poster identity that you have seen a lot in the corridor and also things. That's the reason why they approached us, because they saw some of our previous work for City University at that time that we will share later. And it's good that we try to analyze with the Faculty of Architecture on the previous image. So this is the previous image. Actually, you have maybe have chance to see this kind of information design poster. So basically, they have put just one image, a very big image, and also with those horizontal, vertical text. And that's it, because they it was done like 4 years ago. Is based on the theme of horizon. So it's like moving like vertical, horizontal text. And they have a kind of different layers. Some may use image, some may use one image, some may use like 10 images. So there is no system at all. So at that time, and maybe you put a heavy text on this, and then with even different faculties inside or department here, they don't have a standardized system.
Some are designed by your teachers, just to let you know.
Yeah, and then because it's you have to be very quick, and but it's interesting that they are aware the importance of design. I mean, the Faculty of Architecture people, and they try to find if we can have a professional designer to work with the architect people to create a very strong identity for the school. And I think this is a very good way how designers that work with architect. So at that time, this is the first presentation we tried to present 2 years ago, and then we tried to make a study of because I mean Hong Kong U, the Faculty of Architecture is also very famous in Asia and also in the world, and that's why we try to think that if we have to enhance the overall faculty image, we need to study about the very international professional institutions. And that's why we chose, and actually, those famous from London, Architectural Association, AA, they have a very good graphic designers, which is from London as well. And they work with the publication, poster, all the exhibition. So they maintain a very high consistency of the logo. So the logo is the circle, is the AA logo. So you can see that all the poster, the logo is so clear. And then with a very simple and typography driven on the text and color. And even from the States MIT Department of Architecture, they just rebranded 2 years ago. And they also have a very black and white, very simple system across print and also the website. And also, of course, Yale Architecture, they are very strong because poster is an art form actually. So for the Yale Public Lecture Series, the poster is so beautiful because they, in the state, in New York, they have a very big side of like underground tube or this kind of advertising, just like London. So this is what we call international city. But in Hong Kong, we just have MTR, light box, and those is cheesy, slim, those kind of crazy ad. It doesn't. You don't expect we can see this kind of poster in Hong Kong MTR, right? The reason, because our city is purely commercial. So they don't allow you to have this kind of cultural advertising on the MTR, and at the same time, they don't have money to invest to buy like 20 MTR light bulbs to put this kind of thing. But in Europe, even in Japan, they know the importance of branding. They would invest on a good design and on a good channel. I mean, the channel means media channel on the publicity, on the poster. And that's why we have studied on this kind of competitor I would see from the same as you guys. And we realized that Hong Kong U, they a kind of lack of a kind of identity. And that's why from the previous kind of information-driven design, we try to establish a system. And this is kind of development, which is not final, but it's interesting to you to share how we work as a kind of process. So at that time, 2 years ago, I remember, in a summer, around July, we present the first draft. And at that time, we try to, because we know that the poster, even though in your faculty, you have a lot of information to be here, and then so that you can see the lecture, the title, the name, and we need to create what we call a grid, gasek, to contain the subjects, the title, the date, or the name, or the faculty or name. And that's why at that time, we know there are 4 basic elements. So the first one is the name of school, for sure, and the event, and also the category and the nature. And we try to make the kind of 4 lines which echo with the previous design of vertical, horizontal, and then we made a kind of image and text area. So once we define the grid, the system of the grid gasek, how to control the type, arrangement, and size, and then we create a system that contains the images. So at that time, we proposed 2 directions. So finally, they chose the second direction. So this is the first direction. Actually, we also like this direction because it's so simple. And then we know that you have a different images that you need to put it. It's because in each lecture series, you have different speaker, and then you have different project from the speaker. And that's why we need to have a template, what we call. And in some poster, we just purely text, and we also need to define text version and an image version, but still under the same, what we call a system. And in a sense that we have to put a lot of date information because you have a lot of lecture. So, and also we also suggest that as a degree show, because we work with the faculty for the 1 year degree show design as well. So finally, we proposed the second direction, and they like it very much because at that time we try to make it, instead of horizontal and vertical, we try to fix it 4 corners because we can save more space, but we're still keeping the identity of Hong Kong U and the architecture. So we define clearly from the name of school, event, lecture, and category, and then we put it as a kind of system. And finally, we put it in image. So basically, I think 2 years ago, you will see this kind of similar design for the text, just as a notice, very, very strong text, and then you can see the announcement, and also with those lecture series for the sequence, and also with some images. So this is a kind of draft, the first draft we proposed, but they already like this idea, and that's why they adopt it, and then we put into the real design of each semesters. And typeface is a very important. Zitai is a very important in visual design. Even though typeface is a very professional industry, so we have typographer, Zitai CKC, which focus on just designing typeface. And from typeface, we have defined, because the previous typeface from the Hong Kong U, they use a kind of a generic version called trigraphic, which is condensed, or condensed typeface, which has made a kind of architectural feeling, because we call it the building, the kind of skyscraper, or we call it a very structural rigid. So we never use a very round typeface or soft typeface, because you are from the Faculty of Architecture. So we need to construct a typeface that's matched with the branding of the whole thing of the characters. And that's why at that time, we proposed using, so this is the original typeface the faculty use. And then we proposed 3 options, but we finally find that we have to be moving forward. That's why we chose the typeface called Garage Gothic, which is, you can see it's more condensed, but it still have a round. So the round corner meaning like more human, but the heart shape meaning more rational structure of architecture. So you have to think rational, but architecture is a kind of more, in a sense, sometimes you have a human touch, and that's why we try to fix the 2 elements. And then finally, we put all the poster series into the title level. So you will see this is quite bold. In terms of reading, it's very clear, right? But in terms of design, when you put it different layer, it's still very strong to put it like, even though capital letters, small letters. And then so you combine a very coherent language to the poster. So finally, this is the poster. We start from 2011 for the public lectures. And you can see we have defined a color background. So each poster based on a different theme. So let's say this one, the right-hand side, the spring 2012, is about architecture on speed. So it's a kind of related to the word speed. So we try to construct a graphic treatment to echo the theme. And you can see it even different color using same typeface, but follow the same structure. They could have a different interpretation, but under the same system. So this is our original intention to change your faculty poster series into a clear and a solid design driven as a kind of poster identity. So identity, we are not saying just a logo, but in a sense, poster is also a form of identity, because we know that every year you have a series of lecture, you have a series of workshops, you have a series of happenings that from the faculty side of point of view, you have to also deliver a consistent visual language. So this is the first